Hello, how are you? This video is about how to stop psychic attacks. And if you hear voices, it may help you no longer hear voices. And this is really going to work. So basically, what happens to me is we have things in our body called the chakra. It's an energy center. And mine would buzz for hours at a time, days at a time. And that's the source of the psychic attack. And if you block that, then the attack will end. And I learned how to block it. I'm going to tell you how to do it. It's so easy. I'm just going to get right into it. So basically, when your body is still is when I would receive this attack. So if my body was moving, it's like I'm invisible. And all you have to do is keep moving. So what I do is all day long, I'm sitting here moving because it actually stops it. When I'm lying down, I do the exact same thing. Or another way is to cover it with your hand. So I just want to show you that this is going to work. Now let's get into all the details, the log part. So around 16 years ago, I started experiencing psychic attacks. I would get a buzzing feeling in my chakra. The chakras are energy centers, like near your heart or near your stomach, etc. And I would get them in two different areas, the root chakra, which is at the base of the spine, and under my belly button, or near my belly button, it's hard to remember, would be another one. And after 16 years, normally I just let it happen. Sometimes, like I said, it would happen for days at a time. Sometimes it would only happen for half an hour or something like that. But what I discovered is that when I blocked this and I prevented this from happening, and there's lots of ways to do it, the voices stopped. And I slept better at night. I woke up the next day drooling because I had slept so deeply. I felt I had more energy. I was happy. I was like a normal person again. And the voices didn't interrupt me as much. And they didn't bother me. Like when they would be talking to me, I'd be like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. So the psychic attack not only makes you hear voices, but it also is giving you bad energy. And you're blocking yourself from receiving that bad energy. That bad energy is anger or being annoyed or stressed or whatever. So that bad energy was gone, because before this happened, I was a very happy person. I was happy all the time. Okay, so now the buzzing I determined was the source, and now I'm going to tell you how I blocked it. One thing that I discovered was that my hand, the palm of my hand, could block it. So for example, if I felt the buzzing right here, I would put my hand over where I feel it. I often would feel it on my forehead right here in the center, and I would see a vision, so I would put my hand right here and I would block it. And then one day I said, okay, I'm just going to put my hand over here. And I didn't do it all day long. I only did it for a short period of time because you get bored doing it. But then one day I said, okay, I'm going to do it all day long. I'm going to block it for 24 hours, all my waking time. The next day, the voices stopped. And it's been a week now, and the voices don't bother me anymore. And I have my life back again. For the 99% of my life is back. Okay, so I discovered that it was the palm of the hand. But the problem is you can't keep your hand covering the location that's buzzing all the time. For example, when I'm lying down in bed, my hand is not long enough to reach the location where it's buzzing. And sometimes when it's strong, you might need to use both hands. And you can't relax with your hand always in that place. And when you're typing on the keyboard, sometimes you need to use two hands. So I had to come up with another solution, and I did come up with some other solutions. First, I tried a cell phone. Let's see if I have a cell phone handy. I don't have one right next to me. But basically, I took an electronic device, like a cell phone, and I put it on that location where the buzzing was. And you have to have it in the perfect location. If it's off by half an inch, it's not going to work. But the cell phone, when the power is on, stopped the buzzing. So I would literally put a cell phone inside my pants when I was lying down, when I was sitting down, etc. And I did that pretty much the first day, so my hands were free, until I discovered other methods to block. The problem with the cell phone is it's not good enough. The buzzing might happen after 10 minutes. It might start up again. You got to adjust the cell phone, etc. I took my laptop computer, lied down on the bed, waited for the buzzing to start, put the laptop over the buzzing, and it stopped. And it never started up again. I waited for like 10 minutes, and I said, okay, the laptop stops the buzzing. I tried flat objects like a book. I put the book, it would stop for a short period of time, the buzzing would start up again. So this was ineffective. I tried things like pillows and bed sheets. Stops it temporarily, just for a couple seconds. I took my luggage, piece of luggage, you know, that thick, and I put it on my body, filled with stuff. Stopped it temporarily for a few seconds, was not a permanent solution. I took the case that I put my laptop in, the soft case, filled it with computer wires, and it seemed like it worked at first, but in the long run it didn't work. So maybe it was also temporary. So having the electronic signal from a cell phone stopped the buzzing. But like I said, was not good enough. So the next thing I tried, you know, I hear voices, and one of the voices said, try using a computer mouse. This is a computer mouse. Notice that it's got a curved shape. They told me that the curved shape would make a difference. So I put the computer mouse where the buzzing was, and it stopped. I have one computer mouse. I need to use it for the computer, so that's not a solution. And you can't sleep with a computer mouse. You know, eventually you're going to fall asleep, it's going to fall off, etc. It's not a solution. So I tried other round objects. I tried a basketball. Basketball, you know, is about that big. You can lie down comfortably and put the basketball in the right position if you're on your side. Blocked everything. No more buzzing. Never started up again. If you're lying down on your back and put a basketball on you, it's not going to sit there. So the basketball was not a solution. And I tried tennis balls. They sort of worked. So the next thing I tried was water bottles. They're round. I tried filled with water. I got a big bottle like this, filled with water, put it on the location. It didn't really work, so it wasn't a solution. I then tried empty bottles like this. This works. This bottle protected me. All I had to do was put it on the location. You can shove it under your shirt or in your clothes, and it will sit there while you're working, and the buzzing stops. It's not that uncomfortable. The problem is you can't sleep like that. So what I did was I made a bag filled with plastic bottles. This you can put on your body while you're lying down, and it will block the buzzing. So after a week, it took me, 4 or 5 days, I was trying different techniques. What happened was my feet started to buzz, both of my feet. It's not coming from beneath, it's coming from above. Now, the feet buzzing all the time that my feet have been buzzing, I don't feel like the voices are bothering me. Maybe they are, I'm not sure, but I don't worry about my feet buzzing. When my feet are buzzing, I really don't care. So the other thing that I discovered was that, you're lying down, you feel a buzzing on your root chakra. Where is it coming from? My theory was, because I'm putting objects on top of it, like my hand, to block it, putting my hand behind me would not block it. Putting it on top would. So therefore, it must be coming from directly upwards. However, if I raise my hand above the surface, this is your body, and you raise the hand, the buzzing would start. So it wasn't blocking it. But then I said, maybe there's a position, an angle, where it's coming from. And then I said, wow, look at that. When I put my hand here, it stopped the buzzing because it was coming at an angle. My hand here would stop it, but if I moved my hand, it would start up again. Put the hand back in that spot and it would stop. That means it's coming from that direction. There's got to be a source for where it's coming from. Not coming from the walls of my room. I'm in a hotel right now. Not coming from the building. Follows me everywhere I go, even when I'm outside in the park. It's not coming from a satellite up in the sky. It's got to be coming from out there somewhere. I have a theory as to where it's coming from. I'm not going to say what it is. You believe whatever you want to believe, but it's coming from out there somewhere. And I hope that there's actually a way that you can measure where in the sky something is coming from. There's a device that's used to measure the inclination and all that. They use it to determine where the stars are so that you can tell other people, look at this part of the sky. And I'm willing to bet you that if someone has this problem and figures out where that energy is coming from and measures that and points to the sky, I'm willing to bet you there's going to be something out there. And there has to be more than one because it happens 24 hours a day and it doesn't go through the Earth. And the Earth revolves around the sun and it happens all year long, so there's got to be at least 4 of them, 2 on one side of the sun, 2 on the other side of the sun, working 24 hours a day. There's got to be something out there. Okay, is there anything else that's relevant? It was hard to block the activity on my feet. Moving my feet, it's as if there's a giant bubble affecting my feet. And there were times that I did block it with my hands, but I had to put it on top of my feet, not the bottom. And moving the feet around didn't help. But shifting the body, even a little tiny amount, helps. So I had to move the feet long distances in order to make a difference. So there's a greater area of influence with the foot chakra. The other thing that I discovered is that when I'm lying in bed, if it's bothering me, okay, I'll move over a little bit. And then a few seconds later, it would start up again. I'll move over again. A few seconds later, it would start up again. But if I increased my distance, so let's say this is the bed, and here I am, moving side to side would cause the buzzing to go away for a short period of time, 5 or 10 seconds. But if I raised my body above the bed by bending my body, the buzzing would stop for a longer period of time. Now, you know there's the x-axis, the y-axis, and the z-axis. It's easier to scan for something. One direction is easy to scan. 2 directions is easier. When you have to do 3 different directions, it makes it a lot more difficult. There's something out there that's scanning the direction that you're moving. If you move in one direction, it catches you faster. If you move in 2 directions, it takes longer. And if you move in 3 directions, it takes a lot longer. So there's something out there. There's a technology behind this, my belief. If I, let's say, fly on a plane, one thing that I notice is flying on a plane, the voices didn't bother me. So, flying on a plane, I would fly 19 hours in one day, long flights. I did this 4 times a year. And I always wore a hat because I don't like the air blowing on me. So one day I was thinking maybe wearing the hat stopped the voices. So I started wearing a baseball cap. It reduces some of the voices. Sometimes when the voices bother me, I put a baseball cap on. The other thing that I would get is I would get a sensation over here and I would have a vision, and I discovered that putting my hand over that location stopped the vision. So I would actually sleep. You can do it. You can sleep, just put your hand like this, lie down on the pillow. It's possible. So often when they would bother me, usually it would be at night, I would sleep putting my hand here. I believe that people hear voices primarily at night because that's when you're the most vulnerable because you're not moving. You're in a stationary position and you're not sucking anything in. They're targeting you. You're being targeted. When you're in a stationary position, you're easy to target. Your bed is in the same position every night. So wearing a baseball cap helped. The other thing that I discovered was that I would get voices predominantly in this ear. And I had an experience where I blacked out for 8 hours, and the next day I had a bump behind my ear, and we all know what that is. You can read on your own what that is. Started hearing voices over here. There's 2 types of voices in the same location. There's one that repeats the same thing every day. It's just absolute nonsense. Same thing thousands of times a day. And there's another one that comments on different things that I'm doing. What I discovered, earplugs block half of the voices. It doesn't stop the little tiny comments It doesn't stop the daily repeating stuff. It blocks the commentary on what's different about today. Blocked. Why is that? I sat there and I thought, maybe I hear voices because the eardrum is vibrating just like hearing a sound. If you put an earplug in, it would block it. I was right. Now, why is it that I still hear something? It's like it's a computer chip. You can't have a conversation. If I ask it, what's your name, what day is today, how do you feel, it won't answer. You cannot have a conversation with some of these voices. So it's like I said, it's like a computer chip in your brain that has a limited amount of storage, that has a limited vocabulary, that just repeats all day long. Okay, so wear a hat, wear an earplug. The other thing that I did was I would listen to music, and then the voices would talk to me in the silent portions of the music. So I took 10 songs, and I made a music track playing 10 songs all at the same time, boosted up the volume to the maximum level, and it just blasts in my ears, and it makes the voices go away. They learn to adapt, so it doesn't completely make them go away, but it makes me a lot happier when I listen to the blasting music. The other thing that I learned, sometimes you might hear music, you might hear a song in your head. What I discovered was that you could only hear one song at a time. And that was the key, because if I started singing a song, I'd stop hearing their song. So I could make the song in my head go away simply by singing another song. So I have a particular song that I like to sing, and when I hear music in my mind, I just start singing it, and after about 30 seconds, the song goes away. It actually will go away really quick. Occasionally, I have to sing for a minute or 2 minutes, a longer period of time before it goes away. Another thing that I learned is that when I first heard the voices, you know, they would say something and I'd be like, what? What? Huh? After 16 years, when they say something, this is how I respond. Shut up. And one day I woke up and the voices were in my face saying, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, all day long until I fell asleep. And that was when the war against me began. It started like 3 years ago. And that was when I started telling him, shut the fuck up. And I started telling him, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, all day long until my voice went sore. But what was good about it is I stopped understanding what they were saying. So they were still trying to talk to me, but I was blocking them out. I was shut up, 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 shut up. When I hear them start anything, I say shut up immediately. I'll either say it out loud or in my mind or whatever, but I just tell them to shut up. My experience after 16 years, don't ever do what voices tell you to do. They try to earn your trust with information or something about your future or about your family or about yourself, but they're only doing it to gain your trust so that you will trust them in the future, and they will give you misinformation in the future that will harm you. That's what they do. Do not cooperate with them. They are evil and they need to go away. And you may have heard them when you were younger. I remember going back to being in elementary school where I had strange experiences that are related. Another issue is the dreams at night and the voices in the day come from the same source. They talk about the same subject matter. There's a place in the United States that there's psychics in the United States, and these people are really psychic. I went to like 20 different psychics. They all told me things about myself that they could not have known. They knew the business I was in. They knew how much money I was making. They knew information about my family. You know, they proved to me beyond any doubt that they have an ability. And they proved to me that the sources of the voices and these psychics are the same. These psychics are telling me the same thing that the voices are telling me. But the thing is, and the other thing I learned about meeting psychics, a lot of them were very nice people, but you could tell that they've had bad experiences. They talk about things. Like one of them said to me, the voices don't like music. I asked her, why are you playing music in the other room? She said, the voices don't like music, which means she turns the music on to get rid of some of the voices, the bad voices. right? So she's had bad experiences. She didn't disclose them to me, but she's had bad experiences. And there was one psychic I went to. I walked in, she started meditating, and she told me to get out. And she kicked me out, and she refused to speak to me. And she started screaming at me and yelling at me. And I was like, what are you screaming about? So they have bad experiences. However, the voices are nicer to some people than they are to others. They play favoritism among people. They're not nice to everyone. Okay, another weird experience. I noticed that my voices are mean to me when I'm all by myself. But when I'm around other people, the voices are polite. That was really weird. And I tested this many times over the past 16 years. For example, if I go out to eat, and I go out to eat twice a day, eat at a restaurant, there's other people around, voices are polite. When I would go for healing sessions with people who had energy healing abilities, the voices were polite. I said, that's weird. Why are you polite until the point that I walk in the door, but as soon as I walk outside, you start being mean to me again? So what I did was I started testing them. I would go to a place that had a lot of people, and I would start saying, when I'm alone, I hear voices that torment me, and I repeated it over and over and over again. And then I would go home, and the voices would be quiet until I fall asleep. And there was a belief that someone else had stepped in and said, don't worry, we're going to help you. But then the next morning, the voices would start being mean to me again. And I did this every night for a while until it really didn't really work that much anymore. The other thing that I noticed is you got to be around a lot of people. I'm not talking about like a restaurant with 20 or 30 people. You got to be in a place like a shopping mall or a baseball stadium with like 1,000 people. And that's when I noticed a big difference. I had another experience. I was over at my grandmother's house. I was talking to my aunt, and this is when I was seeing visions constantly and hearing voices constantly, and all of a sudden they just shut up. And I turned around, and my grandmother had walked in the room. And when my grandmother walked in the room was the only time I had peace and quiet. She only had to be in the vicinity, 10 feet away from me, and the voices were perfectly silent. So there was something about my grandmother that shut the voices up. Okay, so I think I've really gone through everything that I wanted to share. This is about helping you to stop hearing voices. Okay, so the other thing is meditation. Meditation does make the voices go away. I'm going to tell you how to meditate because you've probably heard of it and you don't know what it is. If I meditate for an hour, the voices might go away for an hour, or they might be quiet the next day. They're quieter. So meditating for half an hour a day might be a good strategy, might not be. You have to decide for yourself. But this is what meditation is. Meditation means blanking your mind, thinking of no thoughts. You got to close your eyes so you don't see anything, plug your ears so you don't hear anything, don't say anything, don't think any thoughts, don't feel anything. Now, it's the same as when you go to sleep. It makes the voices go away, and I'm going to explain to you my theory as to why this happens. When you do this, your brain activity is going to decline. And the signals that you send out, your alpha waves and your theta waves and your beta waves, is going to decline and diminish. Remember earlier when I told you I felt like I was being tracked because I would move to a different position and it would take longer to be found? If you got a hole in a bucket and water's coming out, it doesn't matter where you move it. The low pressure and the high pressure, that water is going to flow. My experience says that we're being tracked. When I go around walking, the buzzing stops, but as soon as I stop, it knows where I am. Something is tracking me. Probably your brain waves. Meditation, which occurs when you sleep, shuts that off. Meditation, not thinking about anything, reduces your ability to be tracked. And I believe that that's what reduces some of the voices, meaning that I think it's coming from an outside source. Someone is tracking us based on our brainwaves, and they're reading our minds and our thoughts. I do believe that there is someone out there who's reading all of our thoughts. And I think they know the future for two reasons. Number one, because maybe they have implants or technology that can read everybody's minds, and they've got a giant database that collects everybody's thoughts, so they know who wants to hurt you. And they know what you might do in the future. So they know what your future might be. The other possibility is that they make the future. Like they'll say, oh, if you go over there, you'll get hit by a truck. But they'll make it happen. You know, they'll tell you, hey, you should leave now. And they'll annoy you if you don't leave. So then you say, okay, I'm going to leave now. Stop bothering me. And you walk out there, and they know that that truck is on its way. So they're going to make that accident happen. That's the one way to predict the future, is to make it happen. And I believe that that's happened to me many times. Okay, like I said, don't trust them. If they say that they're warning you about something, ignore them. They will not warn you if you listen to the warning. If you ignore their warnings, they will warn you. They know if you're going to ignore them or not, because they know what your mood is. So they're only going to warn you when they know you're going to ignore it. If they think, oh yeah, he's going to heed this warning, they won't say it. Bad things happen all the time that I don't get warned about, but they claim that they're helping me by warning me about bad things. It's just absolute nonsense. Post your comments below if you want to discuss it, and I'll give you my opinion based on my experience. But whatever the source is evil. You are a random victim. You were probably chosen because you are isolated. If you don't know a lot of people, no one believes you. You don't know. The word doesn't spread if you don't know anybody. If you don't socialize a lot, if you are stationary and sedentary, these make you a target. It's not because you're a bad person or any of that other nonsense. So I hope this helps you. And if you do any experiments that can help reduce the buzzing, the chakra activity or voices, please post below. And last of all, if anyone knows anyone who's an astronomer who can measure the buzzing, and you say, put your hand over here, distance, find out where it's coming from, please find out where that is, because this could be one of the biggest breakthroughs in the history of mankind. Okay, thank you for listening, and good luck.